Time now for the markets with Leighton, and the January USDA reports came out Friday the 10th at noon Eastern time.
And ahead of that, the corn trade was fairly cautious during the week ahead of these new numbers, expecting a record crop figure as well as big increases in the ending stocks. Now also, artists in the markets this week, cattle prices shift higher with the beginning of 2014. An informal poll suggests U.S. cotton acreage may rise, while soybean prices slide south. Some record high fat cattle prices since our last market segment before 2013 ended, and there seems to be support for even feeder prices due to tight supplies. Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley offered some analysis of the beef sector on Thursday morning. Well, the fed cattle market definitely has brought a lot of attention on itself with these high prices.
It sure has. We've seen a lot of positive news since about the middle of December. A cattle on feed report that was extremely bullish. Market took off, started taking off there. As we closed out 2013, we saw the S&P, the Dow, a lot of our barometers of the economy moving to record levels. So that was a good sentiment, if you will, for what the general economy was doing. So that speaks well to beef demand. And so both of those combined, the tight supply and the positive news, I guess, in terms of what beef demand might be for 2014, has had our live cattle, feeder cattle market pretty strong coming into 2014.
And packers basically are having to pay up to get the supplies they need at this point.
That's right, and we've seen choice and select box beef move up as a result, you know, which has helped them increase the incentive for them to bid up. Box beef prices have held up as well. So again, a lot of positive news if you look at just the prices throughout the supply chain for cattle.
So perhaps bullish as we go on into the year?
Definitely on the supply side. I mean, we're continuing to see fewer numbers of cattle slaughtered, fewer numbers of cattle available. We're likely going to see more heifers retained, which means there's more heifers that are going to be in the feedlot. We've already been seeing that. We could continue to see that. So from the supply side, I think it's definitely a positive outlook. The question always is going to be, what is demand going to do? How's it going to hold up? You got winter weather like what we've been experiencing, not just in Mississippi. It's been really cold, but it's been cold everywhere else. That keeps consumers inside, not out making those purchases. It also drives up their electricity, their utility bills, which chips away at their budget. So there are some if you will, some
potential clouds on the
caveats here, but for the most part, the outlook is strong as we've come into 2014.
Now the feeder cattle market, they have not set really any record prices, but they're still doing fairly well as far as prices.
That's right. Since about early December, up about $5 across the board, looking at all the different contracts. That market's going to continue to be tight, so it's not been as strong in terms of record prices, but it's held up throughout all of this.
It seems like there could be fundamental support to keep that underpinned.
Of course, yes indeed.
The extreme winter weather has impacted some livestock and dairy operations this week, especially in the Midwest. Cargill says it will likely operate its pork plants in Illinois, Iowa, and other locations on Saturday the 11th to make up for lost production volume due to weather-delayed hog shipments. And in Indiana, Michigan, and Kentucky, some dairies reportedly were forced to dump milk this week as the weather shut down roads and stranded trucks. Well, our trivia quiz this week concerns some agricultural history, and here's your first look at it. What piece of equipment did the Rust brothers invent? Is the answer the cotton gin, or the disc harrow, or the three-point hitch, or the mechanical cotton picker? I'll tell you at the end of the markets. This week's Beltwide Cotton Conferences generated some bearish news in the opinion of many analysts. There is word that a preliminary poll of 2014 cotton planting intentions at that meeting indicates producers are planning to increase cotton acreage this year by 8%. Dones reports that if realized, that would be the first increase in planted cotton acreage in 3 years. Tumbling corn and bean prices are given as one reason. Much of the trade had been expecting another decline in cotton acreage. The National Cotton Council releases an annual planting intention survey on February 8th. The potential of a record crop of soybeans in South America continues to be the bearish news weighing on the bean market. Analyst Elaine Cubb says the January 10th USDA numbers should confirm the impact of Brazilian and Argentinian crops on global bean supplies.
looming over this for months now has been the idea that the Brazilian and Argentinian crops are going to be huge. And that is continuing to be the case, and even more so. I think that's what really triggered it this week. There has always been this idea that it had been a little bit dry, but the forecast turned very decidedly wet right as it's filling the pods. You know, we're fairly safe to say that they're going to get the 88 million metric tons in Brazil, possibly up to 90 million metric tons is an idea that has been tossed around. So that could be some very bearish news coming in, again, on that January 10th report. So somewhere between now and next November, there's a $1.57 spread between the old crop and new crop soybean futures, and those are going to have to come together somewhere. And my feeling is that it's probably going to be closer to the downside, to the new crop prices.
Wrapping up the markets in forestry products, USA Today reports that hardwood plywood production capacity in the U.S. has shrunk 25% just since 2009. This downturn in new home construction and China's increasing share of the market are being cited as the primary reasons. This story says 25,000 jobs were lost due to the diminished production. Well, before the feature story, let's check out the trivia answer for this week. The correct choice is D. The Rust brothers invented the mechanical cotton picker, which was demonstrated in 1936 at the Delta Branch Experiment Station in Stoneville.